right, we are live.
Hey guys.
And in charge. What is up, everybody? I hope everybody is doing well. We had interesting weather today, didn't we? Got a little bit of warm weather, although...
Hey IG over here.
Michigan's still being extremely bipolar. We're supposed to have some cooler weather again tomorrow and for the weekend. But hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to April's edition of Health Talk with the Mott.
Welcome. Let us know where you're from, where you're joining from. Put your name in the comments. We're glad you're here. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe. So we can share. We want to really share this information, health and wellness with everybody.
So while we're allowing Facebook to kind of get this rolling and out there and allow people to roll in, you want to talk a little bit about the rally that we just did?
Oh my
because
goodness.
That's where some of this stemmed from for tonight's topic. Welcome, Deb. Welcome, Tasha. So for those who don't know, we put on our Young Living Health and Wellness Rally event Saturday. It was a huge success. So thank you for all of those who came out. We really enjoyed ourselves. We had a DJ. There was a dance contest. We had Dr. Joel Kahn there, who actually spoke about a little bit about what we're going to talk about tonight.
So that's kind of what inspired this, because if you are not familiar with Dr. Kahn, be sure to follow him or go to Green Space Cafe. Great information. So just really connecting with him. There's just so much information that we want to share with everybody.
Yeah, you, Dr. Oily Mom. Yes, you do need to come to our next rally. And for those who have been following me on Facebook or Instagram, you've seen that I've been attempting to make some vegan meals, and one of them went extremely well, the other one not so much. So it can be a little bit of a struggle, and so we want to try to equip you guys with just a little bit of information, I guess some of the draw points that we had for those who are trying to either have more of a plant-based diet or do veganism. And we want to talk about how that actually ties in with using essential oils as well, because for those who do or don't know, we are a very oily family over here. Dana's probably been on this journey a lot longer than I have, but for the past 2 years, we have been an oily and toxic-free family. And so we enjoy it, and our goal is to share some of the information that we come across with you guys. So I guess as people are still rolling in, let's get started. Let's start talking about it.
Yes. Hey, Nick.
Welcome, Christian. I thought it was actually very interesting because so Dr. Kahn started his speech, and he was talking about a trend that is emerging not only in Hollywood but a lot in the sports. I was going to say sports arena and athleticism as well. You're noticing that more celebrities and more sports stars are starting to transfer over to a more plant-based diet or veganism. You're seeing people that are more about eating healthy meals now than probably ever before, right? And so he was saying it's not just a trend. There's a reason why people are doing that. So I know one thing that really resonated with me. He was talking about Kyrie Irving, who plays for the Celtics, and I'll read exactly his quote. He says he's been on more of a plant-based diet and getting away from animals so that his energy is up and his body feels amazing. So a lot of people are doing it just for health reasons alone, to feel better. They want better sleep. They want more energy. And our goal as humans is to live as long as possible, right? We want to be able to enjoy the time that we have here. But there seems to be this stigma this rumor that's going around that pretty much says if you don't eat meat, then you're not getting enough of the nutrients that your body needs. You're not getting enough proteins. You're not getting enough fats, and so on. And so one of the things you mentioned, that's just simply not true. So there are alternatives, and I want to talk a little bit tonight kind of about why it's important to look at alternatives. So it was interesting that he actually hit on it from a medical aspect and talked about the link between plant-based diet and heart disease. Because I know, to share something personal with you guys, high blood pressure does run in my family. Diabetes does run in my family as well. And so genetically, I am already predisposed to those conditions if I don't do things to try to combat that. And I know that you've probably got some things on your side as well. So we have this mentality here in the States that's very retroactive. Like something goes wrong, we develop some type of condition or disease, and we think that's normal, that we're just going to take a medication to manage it for the rest of our lives. And that's simply not necessary and does not have to always be the case. And so when we talk about a plant-based diet, or how plants really help to sustain and support our bodies and our systems, it's really about being proactive and doing what we can now so that we don't have to deal with those conditions later down the road.
Right, and it's always interesting to me too, because it's like, oh, Beyonce's gone vegan, and so everybody wants to kind of jump on, and it's like, oh, this is like a fad thing, a bandwagon thing. And I feel the same way I do about the essential oils, where people are like, oh, all the rave with essential oils and things like that. All of this stuff is really, we're just transitioning and going back to what we were doing in the beginning. Like, essential oils have been here since the beginning. And when you think about it, we ate from the earth in the beginning. So if we were created from the earth, wouldn't it only make sense that to heal our bodies or to have, good body function, we want to go back to the earth? So when we're talking about veganism and we're talking about plant-based, again, we're talking about going back to really how we originally were eating and functioning before.
Really quickly, because I'm reading the chat also, and this has nothing to do with what you just said, so I apologize. So Bernice says to talk about the jackfruit recipe that some of you saw that I was messing with yesterday, and I'm just going to let you guys know that was an epic fail for me. I actually pulled the wrong portion out of the jackfruit and used it, and I over seasoned it with sugar. So I am going to try a couple of suggestions that I actually got from you guys. Someone mentioned trying to make a pizza, and also to try a different recipe with the correct part of the jackfruit. So, but it is a great alternative, Bernice. I'm told, especially when you make it right. So, moment of honesty, I didn't make it correctly. So let's talk about a little bit about alternatives and what are some of the things that we should be taking in. So for some reason, everyone remembers probably the food pyramid that we had growing up, right? And how you had so many servings of your grains, you had so many servings of dairy and your meats and vegetables. And we need to realize that sometimes it's not always necessary to kind of follow that pyramid, because not everyone can tolerate dairy, right? So some of the things that he mentioned were, number one, it boils down to what you eat, but also moderate exercise, reducing your stress along the way. On the bottom of this pyramid, I wish I could show you guys the picture, but on the bottom of this pyramid, vegetables is actually the highest content of what you should be consuming. Your vegetables do have protein in them. They do. Some of them do have fats in them. You're getting some of your minerals out of your vegetables as well. So vegetables was number one. Fruits as well. My daughter is hilarious to me. Like, she does not like the taste of fruits, so we have to find ways to convince her to eat fruit because we know it's good for her. And so if that's something that you struggle with, find something that resonates good with you, something that you enjoy eating. Beans are a great source of protein. So for those that feel like if I have a plant-based diet or a vegan lifestyle that I'm not going to get enough protein, beans are great for that. You should then have your whole grains. So that's your corn, your rice, your oats, not instant oatmeal like your steel cut oatmeal if you're using that wheat. And then you have your non-fat products. So that's like your cereals, soups, tofu, crackers, egg beaters, and these are on the smaller side. So these are the things that you want to eat or consume less of than like your fruits and vegetables. Then you have your non-fat dairy products, which are a very tiny portion. So that's your yogurt, your cheese, your egg whites, and finally at the top, with very little being consumed, is your fats. Now, one thing I will say about fats, and this is something I was kind of iterating to Dana, is there are such things as healthy fats. So you have things like your avocados, which are a great source of healthy fats, and you do want to make sure that you take in some kind of fats. I just so happen to be on the skinny side, and Michigan weathers are not very forgiving to people with low body fat. So you do want to make sure that you're consuming a healthy amount of fat as well. And so one of the reasons that I kind of addressed Bernice's question too is you want it to be enjoyable. So cook things that you know, or prepare things that you know that you're going to eat, right? Mm-hmm. When I looked into the jackfruit, like I love my ribs and my barbecue. But as I mentioned, I know that I'm predisposed to certain diseases and conditions. So I'm trying to find a better alternative. And so I know that's something that appeals to me. That's something that I will eat. So
yeah, love avocados.
Avocados are great. So make it enjoyable for you. I know we've talked about when we've actually done a segment on cooking with essential oils. And the nice thing about using your oils is not only can you use them in your recipes if you have ones that are labeled for internal use, but they can also be used to make things fun and enjoyable. They don't know about anyone.
Oh, that's weird. She said the screen is totally black.
Is there anybody else having a black screen?
Can you guys see us on Facebook? I think IG we're good. Can you guys see us on Facebook? Heart or comment below if you can see us.
I'm going to give them a second to catch up on that then.
That's weird that the screen is black.
Yeah, it said they were... Oh, okay. So, everyone else can see them. So,
okay, thanks, guys.
Maybe try refreshing and see if it allows you to tune in. But let's very briefly transition over to the other side of it. So, we talk about being an oily family. Yes, we're recording it. We talk about being an oily family and why it's important to use essential oils. What would you say is the number one reason, especially along this line, that someone should be using oils as well if they're going to do a plant-based diet and do a vegan type lifestyle?
Well, it's plants. So, I mean, and that's one thing that, like, I was like, go Dr. Khan, because he so brought that out. He was like, it only makes sense that you guys are using oils and using plants. And I don't know if you're going to touch on this later, but it doesn't make sense to change over your complete diet and yet still be putting crap on your body or in your hair. So when we think about plants, we want to use them in all of their aspects. So we want to use them when we're putting, our makeup on. We want to use them when we're putting on our lotion, when we're washing. All of those things, we want to make sure, again, we're using plant-based items.
Yeah. And I know somebody pointed this out, one of the classes that we were teaching, and it wasn't really... Oh, she can see us now. Okay, good. This wasn't really a new point for me, but it was just one of those things that was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So whenever we teach like an oils class, we talk about, and some of you might hear the term, oils are the lifeblood of the plant, And you think, okay, that sounds a little crazy, but when you think about like what's in your blood and what it does for your own body, like oils do the same thing for plants. Mm-hmm. And so she was bringing out that it's really about protection, right? And nurturing the body. So when we talk about eating things that are, plant-based, it only makes sense to incorporate oils as well, because the same thing that an oil might do for a plant is also going to do for your body. And so it just makes sense to put the two together.
And when we talk about like cooking with essential oils, right? So we're talking about eating plant-based. Remember too, your essential oils have higher frequencies than their herb counterparts. So even when you're using fresh herbs and fresh vegetables and things like that, by adding those essential oils, you're going to raise the frequency in the food. The higher the frequency in your body is, the harder it is for disease, germs, and things like that to live. So we know that we want our bodies to be at a high frequency, we want to be alkalinized, and we want to be oxygenated for good all-around wellness and all-around health. So it's so important that we're getting all of those in our bodies as much as possible.
Yeah. So Bernice, did that kind of answer your question? Type in the chat if it did, and hopefully it did. But yeah, and then also think about the applications, because Dana and I have been on this journey about overall health and wellness. So, realize when we're doing these things, it's not just talking about oils. Like, that's why we touch on things like, other aspects of life, And so it makes me think of like why I use my oils and try to eat healthy as well, is I want to support the body's normal function. So there are things that are in the plants and vegetables and fruits and stuff that we might intake internally that are going to help to do that. So I'm laughing at Brandy's comment here. I'm sorry, guys. Brandy, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So you're doing things to support your body's normal function through things that you take in internally through your food, but also using oils as well. Really quickly, I did want to touch on, I thought this was interesting from Dr. Khan. He talked about the problem with vegans, and it's the fact that for the most part, sometimes you have what's called an accidental vegan. Like, they're kind of like the chicken without a head, with their head cut off, because they don't know what to eat or how to make sure that their body's getting enough of what it needs. And so I know this one is huge for me. I talk a lot about supplementation. Now, if you're eating enough of the right foods, then your body is going to recognize that that's food and utilize what's in it. That's why we talked about a little bit about that pyramid of what we should be taking in. But if you need to supplement, then it's only best to use plant-based supplements, because your body, and Dana talks a lot about this, but your body only recognizes food, right? Mm-hmm. So the nice thing about having supplements that are oil infused or plant-based is your body recognizes that, and it's able to digest it and take advantage of what's in it a whole lot better than something that's synthetic.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, going back to like the definition of course, like being vegan, remember, so we're going to be avoiding meats, we're going to be avoiding eggs, and we're going to be avoiding dairy. So one problem that a lot of people will run into is, because we're taking out a lot of those things, you have to still make sure you're replacing and eating enough of the right things. So if you're not eating enough of the right things, you're going to have cravings, and your body is going to want certain things, and depending on how your diet has been over the years, more than likely it's going to be sugars that you're clinging to. So to fill those empty calories and fill those things, a lot of times what people will do is then they start eating junk. So that is not going to be in balance with, obviously, a plant-based vegan diet. Because if, I'm not eating meat, but I'm eating Doritos and I'm eating, sugar, well, it's not, meat, but... And it might very well be vegan, because it doesn't have any of those three things that we listed that we're trying to avoid, but it has those processed sugars, or it has those high levels of sugars that then now your body's going to respond, and you're going to have cravings, and you're going to have troubles with weight management and things like that. But when you have that high vegetable count and you're eating plant-based, it's easier for you to manage that weight. And when you add in those essential oils into that, again, because it's plants, because it's going to adapt to your body for what you need, then it's going to be easier to do things like manage your weight.
Yeah. And so, because we're getting down to the tail end, I want to talk about the realistic side of it just for a moment, because we want everyone to be successful whatever journey that they choose. And so I know, and even Dr. Khan talked about it, and this resonated with me and made so much sense. There are people that are going to say, like, yes, I want to increase my vegetable intake, I want to increase my fruit intake, but I cannot give up meat. And whatever your health and wellness journey is, that is fine. Realize this, though. The things that we do to our bodies, they do have effects for a long period. So just think, if you can give your body a break 2 or 3 nights a week, and try something that is more plant-based to replace a meal, a few meals throughout the week, you will notice that you will start to feel better. I thought this was kind of interesting because you talked about how the synthetic sugars are in products that are actually vegan. So just for fun and for kicks and giggles, I actually found 20 foods that are actually vegan based, and they're like accidental vegan foods. And so this was education for me because Dr. Khan kind of mentioned it and I didn't understand what he was talking about at the time, but it helped me to appreciate why you need to be a lot more focused and have a plan of what you're trying to what kind of foods you're trying to eat or what kind of meals you're trying to make. So if you have to write a meal prep schedule or create grocery lists, find recipes that you enjoy, do it. But in case you were wondering, so some of the things that were on this list that stuck out to me, like I didn't know Nabisco Oreos. Did you know that those were vegan? Cracker Jacks. Doritos does have a brand of vegan Doritos. It's the spicy, sweet, and chili ones. Fritos. What else was on here? Lay's chips are actually vegan. Ritz crackers, Sour Patch Kids. But like Dana mentioned, a lot of these also have synthetic materials in them as well. So if you Googled this and actually found this list as well, realize that's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it for you. So like I mentioned, have a clear-cut plan as to, if this is something you desire to do and you want to eat, even if you just want to eat better, have a clear-cut plan in mind of how you're going to accomplish it. Hopefully we've given you guys a good basis to kind of start in that direction. Because I know this is something I wanted to talk about because it's still exciting to me because I'm kind of still experimenting with it. So I don't have it all figured out. And hopefully you guys have found something of value in tonight's discussion. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to go back through the chat. I know there's some questions we didn't answer, but if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. We have about 5 minutes left. So we're going to try to answer as many questions as we can.
And currently I'm halfway through Dr. Khan's book, The Plant-Based Solution. And I just love this quote because it says, "No disease that can be treated by diet should be treated by any other means." And I think that is so powerful when you really think about that. And this is a great book. And it really does go deeper into certain diseases like diabetes, and it talks a little bit more in detail about of course heart conditions and high blood pressure and some of those things, and really we talk about this all the time, but it's so important to be your own advocate for your health, right? So that sadly in general the medical field, they're trained to, like we discussed, to fix things after they become a problem. And they're not going to take a look at your diet and what you're eating. They're just going to try to get stuff to keep what's happening at bay. So it's so important that you advocate for yourself and that you look really deeply into your diet. And if there's certain things that genetically you are more predisposed to do, just because your grandparents had diabetes does not mean you have to have diabetes. Just because your family history is obesity and dementia or some of these other diseases, doesn't mean that it has to prevail in you. Because you have the control to turn on or off those genes and that genetic patterns. Any questions, guys?
All right, so there was one question in the chat, and I now know how to answer this question. So one of the questions was, will oils help me lose weight? And I think this is an interesting question. So anytime someone wants to lose weight, I always tell them that it's more than just using oils. So that's why tonight's talk is actually pretty good, because diet plays a huge part. What you're eating and putting in your body. It's about calorie intake. So are we taking in enough calories, or if we're taking in too many calories, can we scale back? But exercise, are we drinking enough water? Are we getting enough sleep? There are certain oils that are used to help and aid in digestion and help with your metabolism. So that can help on your wellness journey and trying to lose weight, but it's a whole factor. Sadly there's no shortcut to it. It does take hard work and dedication, but oils can help you get a little bit more of an edge when it comes to that. So hopefully that answered your question.
And a lot of times I think that people don't realize when it comes to weight management, there's a psychological connection between our mind and our food. And you actually do have what they call your second brain, which is in your stomach, in your gut. So if your gut is not healthy, and if you're not maintaining, it is going to be harder when it comes to that weight management. The beautiful thing about essential oils is they have the ability to bypass the digestive system. They have the ability to rework some of the mental blocks that you're having to overcome those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, that's a good suggestion. So Tashina mentioned our sleep product line, which is great for that. I know you've had the sleep products quite a bit, so that's something you might want to ask Dana about. So, okay, any last questions? We have 1 minute left before we end tonight's call.
Yep. And again, remember, if this is valuable information to you, please make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube, DNA Wellness. Everything that we do here or in my skincare all gets uploaded to that YouTube channel. So please subscribe, share, like. That is the only way that we can build awareness, help one another, and educate one another. So we love hearing from other people when they have wins and they're having success with some of their different health goals, and it's going to help us, and we're going to try to deliver that information to other people, right?
Yeah. So one good suggestion is to talk about alkaline and non-alkaline foods, why it's good to have an alkaline body. So that's a good topic we could talk about for one of our shows. So we will keep that in mind. Thank you for that. Did we pass this one here? Okay. All right. Thank you, Brandy. I'm glad you enjoyed it and were able to get something. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll have you join us for next month's Health Talk with the Motts. If there's something that you would like us to discuss or talk about, feel free to comment down below. And if you have any further questions, comment down below, and we'll try to answer them to the best of our ability. But until next time, everyone take care, stay well, and we'll see you then. Everyone have a good night.
Bye, guys. Thank you.